is the neder. So your neder is koinim einai b'shein hayom imesh an lamocha. That's your neder. So how can you possibly call one the tnai, one the neder? The best you can say is that in a neder there's two things. In every neder, if you desecrate the neder, you are mechalel dvarecha. You are making your words meaningless. There's a lav of lo yachol dvarai. But except for that, there's another thing. When you made a neder, you made an isser chefza literally on the object. Ad kedei kach, the Gemara says there's a halacha of be'ila, b'koinimus. I don't know if you know that. You say koinim pas zeh, there's dinei me'ila in that pas. We're not going there, but it's a whole swig in the door. So first of the isser chefza, which is chal, would change its nature, and B, the fact that you're desecrating your words. So granted, when you said koinim pas bezeh yoim imo chal lamacha, you only said this pas today will be like a koinim if I will eat tomorrow. So what did you say? This pas will come a koinim if I desecrate my words, but if this pas is eaten in context of the eating of the other pas. So the second pas is not just a condition, that is part of what is that. That's the story of the Isser. The Isser is doing them both. The Isser is doing them both. There's no reason, any logical reason to differentiate that one is called the Ma'is and one is called the T'nai. I mean, once you, Ma'is and T'nai makes sense if there's a format, something done, and you're adding a subjective stipulation. But every neder is a subjective stipulation. Every neder is what you say is what you're making. So you can make it in this form, you can make it in that form. The psalacha, you have to have two sur chefza. So you decide this is the sur chefza and this is the sur sachilu. What is the sur of my chilul advarim if I eat both today and tomorrow? If I eat and the sur chefza is the one that will be today. What's the problem? There's no issue on the table at all. That's why there's not being a difference when you say al manas, you're going to say be'im. All these things are irrelevant. The neder is not even shaykh, and that's what the Ramah means when the Ramah says, because it goes about kavanah sa'anaida. It's your subjective reality. Whatever we understand you meant. It's not something you have to communicate to other people, which have problems with dvarim shabalei veinam dvarim, and we're not sure what you meant, and we have to verify, so we have to umdid the muchach. When it comes to the dvarim, as the Ramah says, so you showed that in Shulchan Aruch and Reish Lamed Beis. That's the only way. When you talk to another person, you either have to say clearly or we have to umdin in the muchach. But bein al banat, well, you know what you mean. There's no problem of dvarim shabalevin and dvarim in your own words. You know what you meant. That's what we saw the Shulchan Aruch, that we knew you know the context. You don't have to explicitly say the context. We learned that before in Simon Reish Vav, Simon Reish Ches, and Simon Reish Lamed Beis. I don't know if you recall that. I only say that this whole thing makes tons of sense by Nador because there is no format. Nazir, by definition, is a format. Loimi boy, if Nazir is like the Marit, that you're creating a personality. This personality, the Torah says its laws are so, and so. But even if not that, when you say, you really think when it says Nazir, when you said kind of what I said, Hareini Nazir, and it's translated according to Maribal, like kind of Yain Lapi, kind of Tuma Lagufi, I agree. That's the translation of the neder, but it's all one package. It's not separate nedarim. The only question is it an issue that these specific anhogdas are the shrimp created through your mouth? That's the Maribal, because that's what the neder really means. You're saying one thing, but it's like you're shooting one shot and it goes into different lines, different places, or is it no? You're just making yourself something, and then the Torah already decides if you're that type of a person, the law is governing you. But Kula Amalo Pliga, that Naziris has a format. You can't just say, you're going to say kind of goofy layai, and you can say these things separately without saying the word already Nazir. You won't be a Nazir. That's a davar pashut. It's when you said it in context again of Naziris. So you have to say that context because that's a certain format. You can't say I'm saying kind of because and I mean Naziris, a self-garnished. There's no one would dream that would work. Because that's once again is a certain format. It has to be expressed as a din of a flaw by Nedarim. You have to say exactly what you mean, and by Naziris there's a format. We're not going to go basa kavana saleh. So I'm trying to say it's a never push it to me that's why the Rishonim in the Nazir Daf Yud Aleph only spoke about Nazir and the Ramban speaks about Nazir because over there, I'm going to the Rishonim there because they took for granted there is a din of Tnai Gebrot and Reuven, and they answered what they answered, and we saw that, and Rabbi Kivegi asked the question that their answer doesn't help for a neder. That's what he asks over there in Daf Yud Aleph. He says, listen, it's very nice. You answered Nazir. You can do it through a korban because the Ikin Naziris is the korban, and you can have someone else bring the korban. What are you going to say with a neder of, oh, I will not bathe today. I will never bathe if I bathe today. How exactly are you going to fulfill that with the shaliach? That's what he asks. So on the Taisus, the answer to that question doesn't start. There's a clear Taisus itself knows how to differentiate between Naziris and neder, and I think it just explained why. It's not really a t'nai. That is the lashon neder. It's very simple. Logic almost defies from it being a t'nai. How can it be a t'nai? Why would you say, which part would you decide is the t'nai? Which part would you say is the neder? It's all, whatever you said, that's it. You made that. It's not like that tzura, and then you're adding to the tzura. There's no tzura in the dorm. There's what? Sure is the same thing. You can see nishba whatever you want.
Because I'm talking more about like if you have a shvur and it's nice, you say, and you tell them
You're saying Gemara is also by what's his face by Nedarim, but you have to understand what it means. If you I didn't want to go into that. I knew what I was doing. Okay, you learn good the lashon is Ad Kedei Kach. I'll tell you, the Ran says in Nedarim, if you made a neder kainem kikar zahayoy im eilech lamocher, and you ate today. The Gemara said there's a good shot to say that since when you weren't over it now, you're only over when you walk. You're not over the mafreya. I to t'nai, and the Gemara calls it t'nai. That means it didn't t'noim. It means to say since the ma'aseh chilul needs eating and walking, well, if that's the case, until you walk, there's no chilul. You gotta get used to understanding the Shonis Gemara in context. Okay, that's exactly what I mean here. So this is this. I just wanted to clean this part. I think I mentioned. I said I wanted to finish it the last 2 minutes. I didn't. The rice I don't want to give because you're not learning the Durham. But the Yisrael you should remember. There's a big difference between the Rishonim from the Rishonim and the Nazir. It's clear. There's a difference between knowing by Nedarim, which fits with the Sefer Shulchan Aruch, versus knowing by Naziris, which do need Tnei Kafa and do need Negod and Neruve. Taisus writes it Mefurish. Taisus writes that by Nazir there was Tnei Kafa. He writes it Mefurish. What am I going to do? And the Ramah knew a Taisus. I mean, I think he knew a Taisus. So Mustama, he knew to differentiate between the Naziris and the Nedarim. This is Mustama what we're talking about. Okay, let's go further. Okay, so let's start rolling this. So the Gemara says over here, we'll start with that. Gemara, Huda Osikama de Rabba Barachana. That language needs explanation. What does it mean? I have it means say for me it's a fact of a matter of fact. How so? That's what I mean. Musakani, it's a matter of fact, not that you know. Would have said I know it's support. No, I said it's musik. I mean, it's a matter of fact. It's a davar muksuk. Now, how many things make a thing muksuk? To make something muksuk, what do you need to make something muksuk? Something's muzik. Guy says musakani. How do you create such a halachic status? Because the Gemara said that would have worked, right? How did you know? They asked him why. How do you know? Because how do you know enough to say that it's muzik? The korelei avua buchra sichla. Well, there's your source here. Let's at the moment. Let the korelei avua buchra sichla. Let's yeah, this is stupid poor. Okay. He calls him buchra sichla. So he says, no, dilma buchra de imahu. The call buchra de ima nami buchra sichla korelei. No, so there's no riot. But if there would be, that would be a riot because his father called him Buchra Sichla. Obviously, we see quite a few things. If the father would have called him not in context of saying Adis, he just calls him a name. He's naig with him that way. It doesn't mention anywhere that he said in Bezin, that there's anywhere he said it with Kavanah Lahaid or anything like that. So it's already before the Gemara that if a father relates to a child in a certain way without the context of testimony. Okay, without even discussing Yerusha or anything like that, the fact that he talks, even he calls him a certain name, this is machzik him. Now, that's in the thing Allah. Why would that be machzik him? Why would that be machzik him? Well, now, before you understand the Gemara, you go back to the Chumash, etc. What do you see here? What's machzik anything usually? Well, machzik things usually we understand is, well, how many things are machzik things? Well, first and foremost, Adam. Edim are machzik something. What does that mean? Yakum davar. Yakum davar literally means it's a davar muhzik. It's a davar which is now substantiated. It stands. It's a way of seeing things. We see it that way. It's not just testimony in the court. This is the way we see things within the halachic paradigm. With our halachic guys, we take this as a reality. Again, I take it as a reality for a halacha. It doesn't mean to say you know objective data. Something is muzik. Or for example, a lady lives with a person for, well, it used to be 30 days. Okay. So we took for granted she was an Eishes Ish. What is that? It's based on common norm. Mugzuk that she's an Eishes Ish, and if she after says Aiden that she was naive, she's cycle. Or an Eid Echad by Isurim. An Eid Echad is made that something is chaylev, and all of a sudden we see someone else eating it. What's the halacha? He's nanash. Let's bring a korban. How do we know it's chaylev? Because the Eid Echad said so, but the Eid Echad is not neman for the korban. If I pretend he ate it and no one knew, he ate it. And now the question is, do you chayav a korban, not a chayav a korban? One aid won't be enough. Now we need two aid. But if he came beforehand and said, one aid, it is enough. That's the halacha. Okay? Why? So the Rambam says the Lashon Iser be'ed echad yuchzak. That's actually his Lashon. Say Rambam Hilchis Sanhedrin. Iser is muchzak with an aid echad. Whatever it's needed for the aid itself, once that becomes verified as chaylev, once it's verified as chaylev, so now all the other halachas come out of it. Therefore, once it's chaylev, someone eats it, he's chayiv a korban, he's chayiv misrei shemayim, he's chayiv whatever he's chayiv. It's no more suffix. There's no more ashim talu you're talking about here. No, this is a proper chaylev. Okay, so we see hooves that can come through common norm, which what you call chazaka, right? What's chazaka? A davar muvzah. Common norm creates a davar muvzak. Eidus definitely creates a muvzak. Even Eid Echad creates a muvzak for a moment. It's afterwards. For example, Afkaminik Daila, if it's Yisrael, no, it's not Sheva Pruta. What's an Afkamin? If I was conveyed, it was Yisrael, and Echad was conveyed to Yisrael, no, and then the guy who took it from the Kaddish and Isha. Now, it is unbelievable. Kaddish and Isha needs two Eidim. It's a davar Sheba Erva. Right? Afal Pikain, since one aid was conveyed that it says now it's meaningless, and therefore the kedushin is nothing. There's no suffix. Why? Because it was nikva. Because it was in the realm of edus of isurim, and eid echad is enough to be magzik. Once he's magzik, that's the Allah. It's mugzik. Once it's mugzik, we don't care about what it's mugzik. Something mugzik is the issue that we deal with. We learned this many times that the Torah wants us not to deal with objective data because we'll never find it. We want to deal with a matzav mugzik. We discussed this. I remember I've learned this to you multiple times. Okay, this is the idea of a mugzikani. So when it says over here in the Gemara that a father is nonchalantly calling the child by a certain name, the anhaga of a father towards a child, that creates a matzav mugzik. It doesn't say he said Adis. Didn't say it to anybody. He called him personally. Hey, Bucher Sulcha, come here. You know what I mean? If I would call my bchor, that he probably wouldn't talk to me anymore. Okay? You say, you know, hey, Dodo, show up. You know what I mean? Firstborn idiot. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine a father calling a child that way? Just the thought of it. Okay? But this is terrible, the abuse. Okay? So what do we see here? This is that this halacha is not based on edus and not based on emunus, not based on anything. It's based on halacha. It's anhaga. And how's it munhag? It's munhag by the father living that way in his relationship with the child. That's how you see it when you just open the Gemara before you look at on the Sifris and drushes and the Baba Mises. Just read a simple Gemara. After listening to all these conversations, okay, let's put this on the tape. Da steht Murzikani, bezer shu bchor, amalei min hayoled, avekor la'avu bucher suchla. Dima bucher daim, the kol bucher daim, and nami kor bucher suchla korelei. Then he said, Uda also the counter b'chenin, amalei Murzikani, bezer shu bchor, amalei. And this one thing, another thing you understand. So what's he saying? He says Murzikani. What does that mean? It means because the father worked paid that way, it's mugzik to me now. Hey, well, maybe you only know it from the father. Why isn't that aid me aid? We're not talking about aidus. We're talking about mugzik. I bet when I tell you how I know it, I'm telling you how do I know how did it become mugzik? But now why am I pasking it? Because he said something or because it's mugzik? His eyes open like Jesus on the cross. It just Okay, if you had, if you maybe you need glasses, but it's a davar pashut. Ask yourself a question. If look, there's an Adis here? No, there was no Adis here. Okay, let's put this on the table. There was no bezin, there was no kavanah. It was just a shmooze. I called you a name. That's all. I heard you call a few times the name. Somebody has to be music. It's a common occurrence. Okay, this is the nickname he gives his kid. Okay, very nice. Okay, so what do we say? Are you paskening because he called him that? No. Is that like a goddess Adis? No, there was no kavanah l'hayid. Do me a favor, and all his Adis, that wouldn't be Adis. Let's put it on the table. This was Gornish Geven. He wasn't mechavan. He didn't even think that he's saying Adis. I'm not saying you have to have kavanah b'shas Adis for Torah, but you have to kavanah that you're saying, you're expressing a fact. I'm not doing anything. I'm calling making a name. I call you Dodo. Come here, okay, Dodo. Okay, what does Dodo mean? So you're gonna look up, it's an Australian animal, you know what I mean? Oh, that's what he is? A dodo bird, okay? Is that what it is? For goodness sakes. Guess you didn't know, now you do. Okay, no, let's make this. Hey, chipmunk, come here. What does that mean? Okay, pea brain. Okay, every of these nicknames, okay? Okay, so whatever it is, what are you gonna call it? It's nothing more than anaga. That's what it is. And since the father, what we see here is one thing. We are machzik the identity of the child according to the normative behavior and recognition of the father towards the child. Even if there's no Torah Adis in the father. That we wouldn't even dream of talking about Kivin Shigit Shuvin Chayzer Magid. Who's talking about Adis here? There's no bezin, no nothing. I'm trying this is all you can see when just read one line, actually 3 words. Okay, like to say this is like comical. Okay, but Shayach, is there a problem of aid with aid? Are you funny? If a person comes and says, I'm saying Adis, that this guy ate this thing, and we all know it's musik and chalif. How do you know it's musik and chalif? Because in Eid it says it's chalif. So now this guy's chayv a korban. Is that aid aid? If I say Adis on an issue which is mazana, and she's musik, but she's musik because 2 Adim testify they lived together for 30 days. Is that aid aid? No. Because the aid, it was made in Bezin of Doshaber, but created a Yediyah Klolish, and the Yediyah Klolish creates a matzav mukzuk. That's all. This is the situation. How do you create a situation? This is the situation. How do you define situations? So here the Gemara seems to be saying that how a father calls a child, defines a child, calls a child, is called, so to speak, is what makes him mukzak. That seems to be the lashon of the Gemara. So the Gemara says, "Muzikani v'zeshu b'chor." That's the next one. Who also counted B'chanin? Muzikani v'zeshu b'chor. Amalei minoya data. Amalei dikhevi also the gaba avua. Amalei zilu the gaba shekhes b'ri the buchu umasi like it. Look, he's a b'chor, and his saliva is don't ask me. This is one thing I don't know. I never knew that the acid found in the tongue of a firstborn. Maybe it is. I have no clue. I never checked. I wasn't the firstborn, so otherwise I would have checked it. Okay. Anybody up here? No, did you check it? You have to check whether this is interesting. So they say a prayer for a mother also does well. What can you do? Okay, maybe right to does not think more. If I stayed the right to this about, he said, "Hey, this." He was mocking me. He said, "This is my part." Is he telling it to the world? Does he want to inform the world, or is that's the way he reacts naturally towards the kid? That's what this is. Listen, take Yanko. He's a firstborn. No, you know what I mean. Let him spit for you. This is the Gemara. That's how it starts. And anyone says otherwise, Adrab. But now we have to know, how does it fit with this Gemara? But it starts. This is another pashut in the Gemara. Anyway, anything we're going to say afterwards has to somehow fit with this lashon like Gemara. That's what I'm trying to put up before I go further. Right. So the Rashbam says, and this idea, there's different sources in this Mechzakim. How do I know this? Because we see the Gemara in Daf Kuf Chav Zayin. In Chav Zayin, it says, Amid Aleph, last two lines, Hayu Mechzakim Bezeh Shu B'chor. V'Omer Avi V'Ache B'chor Hu Mau. Now, what does Hayu Mechzakim mean? How do they do that? So, Rashbam, bottom of the page. Lav be'edim shemeidim shiro shenei l'kain lachiv, and that would be called muhzakim, right? How you muhzakim? Because edim are also machzik. I don't have the edim at the moment, but because there was edim in Besdin, so now it's muhzak. I got to put something on the table that you always remember. The halacha, for example, is edim p8 doesn't work. If you heard from some hearsay, don't help. But if you made an edis which was niskabel already bebesdin, that's edis. It's not eid p8. That's eid p ma'aser besdin. That's a davar muhzak. It's not called eid p8. People have to understand certain things. Okay, as long as it's just testimony, it just is. Once the testimony was processed into evidence, re'inu edis shenechker rabba besdin. That's not eid p8. That's where it's testifying on something mavura. I want us to understand that. I want to give an example just to have it very clear. The Marshal, the Gemara in Sanhedrin, a very famous Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Lamed, discusses that by Dinei Mamonos, you don't, as opposed to Dinei Nefashos, you have to, both two Eidim have to be there, and they have to testify on the same story that happened to the same person, on the same time, the same place, etc. In Dinei Mamonos, it's not that way. It's a Sifrin Shulchan Aruch. One aide says, I saw John take a loan of $1,000 from Harry on Sunday. Another aide says, I saw him take a loan for $500 on Monday. Two people, two sums, two times, two places. They're mitzdarif. Mitzdarif for $500 because the $1,000 aide has $500 him, and the $500 aide has $500. So there's two aides, and let's say he owes him $500. Just know this. It's a Sifrin Shulchan Aruch and Choshen Mishpat at the very beginning by Chis Edis. It's called Edis Miyuchedis. Okay, Edis Miyuchedis means not only don't they have to see each other, not only don't they have to know, they don't even have to know the same story. They just have to testify that he is a Gabra Chayiv. In light of that, it says Mefurish over there, and the Rashi, it is Mefurish Rashba also. You'll open up Chidusha Rashba on Ksubis Chaf Aleph, or Chaf Amid Beis. The last few lines of the Rashba, I have it here, where the Rashba writes, let me see, where the Rashba writes, it's Chaf Aleph Amid Aleph, I see. He brings the Gemara in Sanhedrin. What happens if you have one aid on Haidah and one aid on Halvah? One aide says, I heard him, he might have been, what does that mean? It is, as far as his chiv is concerned, it's a matzav muksuk. What does it mean? It's not just subjective. His subjective admitting that he owes the money creates an objective chiv. That's the halacha by Dinei Mamonos. This is what he does, Baldin, kimei edim dami. Once you're moida, you're it, okay? Let's get that straight. So notice I have one aide that's heard the Aidah, and I have another aide which did not hear Aidah but heard the saw an Alvah. Gemara says it works. Gemara says it works. Why? Dr. Rashba, the Hasam Tavaya Bekushta Kamisada, because they're both talking about something which is true. What does that mean, true? But two separate truths. No, they're talking one truth. The truth is that he's muhzik as chayiv. Hi, kechaziti kishemana leimana, v'hai chazada oidi kamei ba'u mana. That works. Or it talks about the difference. We can will be the din by a bezdin, a dayan, same by the psak din and an aid. There the Rashba differs. But this is a klal. The klal is that here you have a classical halacha that eidim are machzik by mamain, and Eidah is machzik by mamain, and eidim and Eidah can be together. What are you being made on? That he's mufzik is chayiv. I can't be made on the alvah because one person saw the alvah. The other person didn't see Ava. I can't be made on the Hidah because only one person said the Hidah, but both of them are made on one thing. He's Mughzik is Chayiv. And since Medina Mamas, we don't care how it happened, it doesn't matter. So two Eidim are made on the same thing. That Kushtik Omar, that these Mughzik is Chayiv. This should be very clear. It's a very this is probably the best psich I can give to Yakir to take away the cobwebs. Okay, let's put this on the table. And because of this, I'm going to read you a Meiri and Sanhedrin there in that sugya. So the Meiri, the Chena din be'edus b'chor. Meiri and Sanhedrin lamed amid beis. The Chena din be'edus b'chor she'idusa mitzarefes by. Af b'zeh chazeh. No edus b'chor, even zeh chazeh, we need two edim, but they don't have to be at the same story at the same time. V'dover zeh te b'farshe b'chor odom. She'ein echad min ha'achim nemen le b'chor ani ve'etle pishnayim ad she'yavi edim. Person can't just claim he's a b'chor until he has two edim. V'im hevi ed echad she'b'yoyim echad shama mi'aviv shu b'chor. What happens if Bad Neid Echad, like this guy over here? I heard the father call him a B'chor. V'acha sheshama came b'yayim sheni, another heard it on another day. B'yayim sheni. So there's no two Eidim on any one day. There's no two Eidim on any one Haggadah. Mitztarfim. They get together. V'notel chelik b'chayra al piyam, you take chelik b'chayra. I know two Eidim said that we heard him say it. One guy says Sunday, and one guy says Monday. In fact, the Akashi, it's even worse. Not only is it not two Eidim on the same thing, it's 8 mipi 8. I am saying that I heard from the father, which is an 8. So how can you say that he's a B'chor? All you heard is the father say he's a B'chor. L'chayr, it's 8 mipi 8. So what do we say? Shekol shemeid shemi aviv shama. 8 mipi 8. Who? That was the question. If you only made that you heard from the father, that's nothing more than 8 mipi 8. So the meiri ein ze klum. So garnished. Why? And here's his language. She'iker ha'edus b'b'chor kachu. This is the way b'chor is verified through the father. Who makes you a murzak, a father? That is how the Torah decided how to be mazik a b'chor. We don't not mazik b'chor by having somebody there. How can you possibly know that he's the b'chor exactly to the gracious oinei of the father? It's impossible, for goodness sakes. If it would be b'chor la'em, it would be easy. How are you going to tell me he's b'chor la'av? Hello? The only reason you know you're your father's son is because roivs and chazakis, for goodness sakes. So the ultimate, which means to say a roiv is mazik, a chazak is mazik, it's not a suffix, right? That's mazik and mitzias. What is the ultimate, the way of being mazik a b'chor? So there, Iker ha'edus b'chor kachu. That's what it is. How good is the father? V'reise ke'edim she'idu, and he gives the example. Shehoide Reuven b'fneim mana l'shimon. Exactly. Reuven was made a mana l'shimon. Is that 8 mipi 8? No, because Eidos Bodin is mazik achiv, not edus. What Eidos Bodin create is a subjective namonz, which creates an objective chazaka. So once he says Eidos Bodin equals, now there's an objective chiyuv. It's not like Shavya Nafshich Ticha the Yisur, which only creates a subjective Isur. This creates an objective chiyuv. Now we know he owes the money, and if he keeps, he's a gazlan, and he's nenash with all the whole 9 yards. This is subjective Eidah creates an objective chiyuv. It's a matzav mugzik. So he says, "She'af zehu moide sheroiz a little bit nechasep b'shnayim." Here he does something, but we'll have to discuss later. This seems to be limiting it at the moment. He is talking specifically only as far as Yerush is concerned, not as far as the other thing. This is the Machlekes, Rebuta, and Rabbana, which we will do with later. Enough. That's the piece over here. So what do we see from this Ramiri once again? That the Iker idea of this idea of a father it's how a father calls a child. Remember about how he called, even he said the Adam heard him call him that. They didn't say that he testified. Sheshama. What What did he hear? We know from our Gemara. He called them Buchra. He called them, bring spit for me, Yingel. Okay, this wasn't in the context of a beaver or Adis or anything like that. What do we see? It's like a dot. It's al derech like a dot, just like a dot. What is nothing more than a subjective reality, and yet he's believed to be machzik, an objective halacha. Now, what's the halacha when it comes to bchor? I am believed. Maybe it's only subjective, but does this also create an objective knowledge of machzik? Yes. Why would I believe? I would best be believed to say somehow because it has to do with me and my son. Your relationship with your son is a subjective relationship, allows you to be, you are the person which is machzik, this mitzvah. So once it's muzik, it's an objective reality. It's not a suffix anymore. Now we paskin with that. That's why the Gemara calls it muzik. So you take two things out of here, that if there's a din of yakir, it's al derech haydah spaldin. You see, the big yisoid is coming out of here. So that's the dogma that he's making. And that's not, he does, but then creates a matzah muhzik. Okay, once it's a muhzik, it's a matzah bavura and halacha, and that's how we paskin. Now, is there a possibility of being muhzik for one issue and not for the other? This is where it goes to town. Is there a muhzik, if I'm mahzik you, does that mean I'm also mahzik your children or your grandchildren? Another question on the table. Goes into a big sugya. A chazak is kashrus of a mother. Does it help us to solve the kashrus of the son? The famous story with Yanai and his mother. His mother was nishbata b'numudi'in. She was Neshus Kayet. Problem is she also, because the Roman soldiers molested her, whatever they did there, is she usher and she's a halal? If that's the case, and she's a zayner or halal, therefore Mela, her son is also a halal, so Yana would be, his son would be pasul l'kuna. Or do we say, well, she has a cheskes kashrus? It's a big sugya. Actually, you learned the Taisus, the cheskes abatim, for goodness sakes. Mamish, Lamed Beis, Amid Aleph, bottom Taisus, big one. Read it again. Okay, there's a cheskes aim on the labas. I'm trying to point out that a matzav musik does not have to be all encompassing. And now we have Agdoros, one yes or one no. Okay, I'll just throw the information at the moment. There's a very nice shiltus on Yakir. It's in Shilta Mem Aleph. So he writes there, Taka Mufurish, that Yakir helps for the son, but doesn't help for the grandson. Here you have it, man. It's very, once we're talking about chazakas, talking about music, there are possibilities of limiting chazakas. Then we have to see the criteria, etc. I'm giving you a psicha here. Let's walk away from edus and amonis. All those words get you into a rut, and then you start thinking what else you're thinking about. Lamagain. There'd be another halacha. What happens if he said a does badin in Bezdin? Can he afterwards retract? That's a chuvas aran that says he can't. Or Eid Echad B'Yisurim, if he said it in Bezdin, then he can't retract. Is that the classical Kivin Shehigud L'chayr or not? But the Chuvas Aran, I've also mentioned a few times during last year, I think. Chuvas Aran writes before that any Eidus which is found in Bezdin, which Bezdin has to deal a halacha with, if it's in Bezdin, then there is a din of Kivin Shehigud Shuvin L'chayr Magid. Afapi the Eid Echad is not a din of Eidus. It's a din of Gilim Milsa B'Alma. As I once discussed, there's a halacha of keeping shaking. All this we will talk about. I want to just put it into proportion. So this is what's happening here. So this is the sugya. So we see here this concept of muzikani and the Hashvata does about then. You see it also in the Rashbam here. Rashbam writes Kuf Chav Zayin Amid Aleph when it says Hayu Muzakim Bezeshu Bchor V'Omer Aviv Al Acher Bchor Mahu. You believed with the yakir against a chazaka. If you believed with the yakir against a chazaka. Now just think 2 minutes when you think about this. What's machzik anybody? What's machzik? Common understanding, common behavior, including kol delay pasuk. It's also machzik. Yeah, but if the Torah said that the ultimate machzik is the father, what's the Torah saying? That no machzik stands in face of the machzik of the father. If an ikra edus is through the father, what's the Torah telling you? You are the machzik. That means any other chazak is meaningless if you're the machzik. That's what it's saying. It says you are the Thoshon the read. What does he say over here? It's not Ednei Pied. What it says, she ikra edus b'chor kachu. That's how the Torah told you how to be machzik and b'chor. So we use other factors, which we would use in any other matzav mugzik. But when it's in the face of the tzuras hachzaka that the Torah said, who said anything else stands? It stands because it's not worse than any other mugzik in Kol HaTorah Kula. But what happens if now you have the tzuras hachzaka that the Torah is specified for a poor? Here's a place to say, if that's the case, in face of this reality, those are meaningless. The Torah decides what makes a mugzik. I didn't decide what makes a mugzik. It's not based. It's not just because you feel like it. You base the Torah decides how things are mugzik. Just as you understand that if there's two an echad can be machzik by Yisur, you have two edim are machzik by mom. Okay, and alpha became he does Baldin is machzik by mom. So you have different halachas of what's machzik when. So as far as you know, if the whole getter of the halacha of a yakir is that the father, not that he's made, he's machzik. The question is his mukzakus can overwhelm other mukzakus, and the chayre that tzad seichel would be definitely a possibility, because that ikar achzakus is that's the way it is. I'm just pointing this out. Now let's look at the Rashba. I'm just opening, believe me. I'm just throwing ideas for you to think. What you would do, you should be doing in your mind once you put down this idea that yakir is nothing more than a mukzakus.
Why is the Meiri Thashan Ikar
What?
Why is the Meiri Thashan Ikar Ha'edus?
That we'd have to ask what the source is. Oh, the Ikar Edus, because Edus does not mean Edus Torah says. It means it's like it means saying testify. How someone has to say. It's not ABPA, Mordecai. So what does it mean? It's like Saidois Baldin. No, what's that? That's nothing more than a muksuk. Why? How does Saidois Baldin become an objective chiyuv? A subjective Saidois becomes it's a matzav muksuk. That's what it means.
Does that mean saying that because we're so muksuk that in his words, they never against Aiden?
No, he never said that he's neman against Aiden. We're not talking about Aiden. He wouldn't be neman against Aiden because Aiden making objective data. This is only achzaka is subjective. This is objective. Aiden says enough. Aiden is more than any muksuk. Afal Piken, that's only by Mama L'chiyuva, but this isn't it. He's using it as a dugma ba'al, memorikul malva. Two Aiden say he's not a b'chor, and he says the father won't work. You'll see soon.
Not true by other half.
No, you're asking on the Meiri why he's confident. I'm not playing that. No, I've just when I learned the sugya and the makaris, you'll come back to it. This leave it as a question. I'm pointing out this is a view of a rishon.
Rabbi's explaining the rishon differently than what his words literally translate. I want to know where he's getting it.
What I'm doing is adding the idea of Haidoah as explained in the Rajman Ksubas, saying Haidoah and an Eid Echad are both called Kushta, which there's no other interpretation, but they are made on one thing called the Achzaka. There's nothing else there. And then, so I just learned that Haidoah is based, not in of Eidus, is based, it's Machzik. Okay, normally by moment you need two Eidus to say it was Machzik. So Enuchanami here, we also need two Eidus to say the father called him that. That's a double pasha. Okay, but now if the Meiri equates this to that, explaining why it's not 8 because he's saying we're not dealing with the Eidus of the father, we're dealing with what happens in the aftermath of that, which is what? It's a great Eidus Shechkur Bezdin equal to Tzmuchzuk. That's what we see. So that's exactly what he's saying. He's not saying Ikar Eidus. So how would that help against 8 He's trying to explain why isn't it 8 So what do you think? Ikar Eidus Bekaf. How does that answer anything? If it's still 8, it's like 5 to 8 BPA. The teretz says the Ikar Eidus means to say to make it into a mugzik. Once it's a mugzik, so 8 is bezdin. That's not 8 BPA. So that would be the literal reading of it to the people who see the context. Okay, so that's what you have here. So it's very clear. I'm just reading the Gemara. This is great. I love doing this. We have to go on to the Chakiris or just read Gemara like a human being. So look at the Rashbam here. Rashbam says in Kuf Chav Zayin Amadav Ramas Hoyu Muzakin. Loi be'edim shemeidim shiro shenei lekaidim la'achiv dim kein ein av neman. It's a davar pasha. He's not believed. Why not? Because what is he? At the best, he can make a mugzik. But I have an aid. Aidis is more than mugzik. Aidis is also machzik. But if I have aid, it's machzik objective data. Everything else is subjective data. Haidois Baldin, Yakir, subjective knowledge, which creates an objective achzaka. Here I have objective knowledge. 2 Aidis is called, as far as the law is concerned, this is knowledge. Okay. Once it's knowledge, obviously it's mugzik. Okay. But because it's knowledge, it's Musik. So this is objective data. How could possibly Yaakov work against Eidim? Not even Shaykh. So he says, Ela b'kol ba'alma. Ki in shamanu l'mala, da v'kore le buchra. Now that's interesting. So he says, we're not saying, he says before that the Gerson, Daf Kuf Chavav, I'm based not the Korele Avua, not that the father called him that, but the Korele. That's what he writes before. It's like Kol Ba'alma. Kol Ba'alma means that this is the normal way like people call it. So it's before that the Gersa of the Rashbam and the Gemara and Kuf Chavav was not the Korele Avua, but the Korele Alma. He's called Bichlal. So Bishan Afkamina. According to this, according to Korele, not Korele Avua. Okay? That's how we understand the Gemara, Bachra Suchla. So he says, maybe the Ima, once again, we're not talking about that. So from that Gemara alone, if that's the case, this wouldn't bring me a riot to what I'm saying. If that's the case, it's not based on the father calling, Stam Muzik be Alma, Kol Ba'alma, then everything I said wouldn't have a mucker. Whatever I said makes sense if we understand that the father called him that. The Muzikani is because the father called him that. But if the Girs of the Rashbam is as brought down of Kuf Chav Zayin Amid Alf, the last line of Rashbam, he talks about the Gemara in Kuf Chav Vav Amid Beis and says it's called Ba'alma, Kid Amrina Lamala, that the Korele Buchra. If that would be called the father, why would you call it Kol Ba'alma? Say the father called. Because obviously you can't say the father called him because here the father saying he's not a Bchor. So what's the equation to there? The text says that was his Girson. If you look Tak Enochanami at these Agos with Siyunim at the side, what do we have here? David Korele Bucher with this, is that a Ches? It's a Ches? I think it's a Ches. What does it say? David Korele, Kach Tzachlim at Figirsa Zu Sham, Gemara Ein Shem Ois Gimel. What's Ois Gimel? Ksav Yad, I guess David Korele Bucher without Avua. Etc. Whatever it says, it says. Look, you can look it up later. You bring different Rishonim which actually deal with this. This is the Shaila on the table. So from this Gemara alone, this is a big nafkamina. Do I have a first Gemara that the getter of Yaakov is a getter of Musik or not? If it's the Korele Avua state of us that the whole getter of the father is to be Machzik. And that's not Magdir what it is. If the Girish is the Korele Stam, I wouldn't know that. That wouldn't be true. That wouldn't be Muchach. But L'chayra, anyway, you would know it probably from the second piece, because what's the second piece? The second piece, Auda also the Kamer Reb Chanina, Muzikani Bezeh Shubchom, and no Yeda Amud Evekos, because of Gabavua, Amud Uzul Gabashik Bukru. So the Gemara could bring it from there, unless the Gemara thinks that no, you could possibly say there's a difference. When the father comes to be made in context of testimony, then Enochanem said didn't have manus. When he's not made, he's just doing it nonchalantly. Maybe that's enough to make a muzik. Instantly possibility before you start. Another, can I be machriach? Anything I said. I built a whole binyan. Okay, is it mukhrach? That's the first thing. Yeah. So it's very heavily depends. The Korele Avua, first of all, for the first Girsha. So as the Rashbam understands, it's nothing more like Kol Ba'alma. Once it's only Kol Ba'alma, and that's the Muvzaka. So if that's the case, why can't they do the same thing when the father calls him nonchalantly, hey, give me your saliva? Maybe that's not a din of Yaakov. Maybe Yaakov is when he has intent to be made. Not just calling a person a name. It's a possibility. Okay, it's definitely a possibility that has to be explored. We know there's big shayas by Kavanah L'Hoyt. If you know your Sugis and Sanhedrin and Makos, if you need Kavanah L'Hoyt b'shas Riyah or b'shas Agada, well, at the moment I'm not even discussing this, but this goes back to those type of questions. So here we have it. If Yaakov is nothing more to be Masik, of course you don't need the Kavanah L'Hoyt. Maybe it is an innovative. Maybe you do need Kavanah L'Hoyt. And Lamai over here, we're talking he's Masik. He's Loy Gar the Kol. Now your question would be another question. Why is that Masik? Is that a Shvar Ba'alma? If you say it's not a din of Yaakov, so what is it? Why do you feel because the father called the child something that's Masik? Unless you're going to take for granted because it's common norm. Just like 30 days by a woman living with a man, a father doesn't call a kid b'chor unless he thinks it is. He thinks it is. feels it is that an edus? Could be no, since he's not kavan law. It could be enough being mousely. So this is the question on the table. How do we read this Gemara here? That's where the game starts. The Rashbam writes something. Well, it's very clear from the next Rashbam. So the Rashbam. Look at the Rashbam Divrei Maschol. Avo Ama Yirash Pleni Bni Hirehu Bchor. See that Rashbam? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ninth wide line on Kuf Chavav Amid Base. Lo Yamar Bchayri. As lo yitop yishnaim. He said Bchor. He didn't say Bchayri. Duma Bucher Dei Mekaber. Maybe it means that you're a Bchor of the mother, but of the father. He's a Peter Rechem, but he doesn't have Bchor Lenachla. Obviously, the birth of Reishis Oina is a shtickle lav dafke because there's no din of Reishis Oina. What happens if a person was a Nisa Bebris? Anybody uses Reishis Oina to take it seriously, he's like a little funny. And to say that's why it's told you in the Leda and this or in these Maiselach. More the Kulama, Yaakov Avinu wrote on Reuven Reishis Oina. So Rashi points out, Shaloi Roy Keri Miyonov. He never saw Keri. Because if he had any Keri, it's right, not Reishis Oina. Reishis Oina is your first strength. So the Yaakov Avinu to say he got married at quite an old age, that Reishis Oina, he never saw Keri Miyonov, that's Kol HaKavod Lo, to say the least, okay? And that the Gemara points it out, Rashi points it out. So we're not talking about Reishis Oina in that context. That's a bit, doesn't make sense. So it means Reishis, so what does it mean here, Reishis Oina? Reishis Oina as far as what? That means he had no sexual encounter with the lady before she was impregnated? It means to say the first child that was born out of his strength. That's what it means. The Gemara said that Reishis Oina of Kamina for Avelis, a person is Abu more and a poor than others. It's like a Gemara like this, calls it Reishis Oina. It means that Reishis Oina does not mean his first strength objectively. What happens if you had other you think you get impregnated with the first encounter? It's Shanish Reishis Oina. Here the Chiddush was that Reuven was Reishis Oina. Was Mamish Reishis Oina. She was impregnated with the first encounter. That's what you have to say. If not, it's not Reishis Oina. The Rai is because Shaloi Roy Keri Miyama. So let's put, I say this also because the Bach Shtiklach Torah here, I don't understand what we're doing here. This, who goes in, who goes out. What are you talking about, for goodness sakes? So Reishis Oina is a davar pashut that it means to say what? The first child born from me. That's what it means, okay? She says, V'lev Reishis Oina didei. Umisfeik Dr. Rashbam lo yavina lepishnayim. Why is it a suffix? Because if you look, it's a suffix. He said Pchor. I don't know what he means. So it's a suffix. What this man meant. Since it's a suffix, what it meant, what would the halacha be? No, what would the halacha be? Let's try to understand. What would the halacha be? How would you pass in the halacha? If Rashbam wouldn't finish, how would you pass in this halacha? What would the din be? Who's the muhzik? This would be a great bechina. What would you basket? Well, Yingalach, you forgot. What? And I'm going to tell you that that's not true. Look at Rashbam Kuf Chavav Amid Aleph. Anybody remember? Did anybody learn Milva She'imai? The first line of Kuf Chavav Amid Aleph. Umilva she'imai palga. What does that mean? Dr. Rashbam. Milva she'imai shabchor nischayev la'aviv. Bchor owed the Bchor his money. Okay, he owed the father money. Palga. Chelik b'chayre yachloiku beinehem. Iu ma'akiv palga. V'nois le'echav palga. Why? To have a moment amutla b'safik v'cholkin. Why? The ein yadua ichoshev muzik la'aviv, sharei abchor roitzahu l'shabed nechosav la'aviv legamra, ובעין יפה גמר מקנה נחשב לאביב, כדי שיהיה אביב מוחזק באח מלווה. וייתר בא פי שניים. Somehow you say that if your father owes your money, excuse me, that you owe money to your father, those shibudim are different than a regular malva. That's mamish like muzak. Your mamish giving it to him. But I'm not going into the lumps, okay? You don't know if you didn't learn the Gemara. The Gemara clears there's a big difference between taking P9 by a milva that John owes my dad, or that the kid himself owns his father. So look at Rashbam again carefully. It's a suffix. The Enya do a third line of that Rashbam. Ichashiv murzik la'aviv. If this is called murzik, this halva that the Bchor owes the father is not ready to be called murzik to the father. Well, he's definitely going to get it, and it's a different kind of quality of shibud. The lumdus is really beautiful, but we didn't have the capability. We had to jump, so I didn't learn this one. Okay. Ichashiv murzik la'aviv. Why? Shari Abchor Reitzu l'shaben nechasav la'aviv legamre. Very important words. You must give everything which is possible, which can exist within the possibilities of shibudim. You must give him everything, mamish. Obviously, there are shibud. Obviously, it means to say there are two types of shibudim. The classical one is level B, and there's a level A, which is only by people which do it by ayin yafa, but it's also part of dinei shibudim. A very important thing to remember. Why? Why does he want to do it? He wants his father to be murzik in this. Why? Because his father's murzik is going to get pishnayim. If it's a regular halva, a bchor is not going to pishnayim in a milva. Right? That's how we pass it. But I want pishnayim. When I'm shabbat myself to my father, I'm giving it to him in the craziest way, and therefore he's murzik and I can get pishnayim. What's the suffix? The suffix is who's the muhzik. What's the suffix? Who's the muhzik? This is talking after. There's already a tvir for chalukah. Let's understand it's a davar pasha. This is pasha micha. No one's clearing it not that way. He wants his stuff. Okay. Pasha micha means he has. Okay. Okay. So he ties. He's the muhzik. They tie what? Because what's the case over here? A guy wants his money. Equals give me my money. Give me my money equals Posha Micha. Guy comes and says, give me my money. And they say, sorry, you're not a bchor. What does that mean? When he says, I want my chelik sheni, that's not called Micha. Please give me my money. That's Posha Micha in the classical way. So you have a Posha Micha. He's saying, I'm the Posha Micha and I'm the mugzik. They tell him, sorry, you're not a bchor. And we're the tfus is the mugzik. So it's a suffix. Who's the mugzik? And what's the dimmer of the suffix who's a muhzik? Mama mutl b'suffix yachlaiku. There's no muhzik. It's a dinner since the mama mutl b'suffix yachlaiku. Good. That's the halacha. So you're all going to get 50-50. Exactly. It said by milva she'ima. By milva she'ima, we're not sure. Is this called muhzik b'yad ha'av? And Mele, you are therefore now, so you're tfusa and you want it and you're going to get it. We say it's not muzik b'yadav. It's not muzik b'yadav. Who's it muzik in the tfusa? So what is it? It's mama mutal b'safik yachlaiku. That's the halach is palga. Mele kum tais l'chayr. What would be the din over here? L'chayr, the din here would be there's nearly no muzik mavur. If there's no muzik mavur, it's a classical din of mama mutal b'safik yachlaiku. I don't know if you remember, but if you learn the sugi of arva, etc., and the din of this, that you know that mama mutal b'safik yachlaiku, Tosis says the equivalent as if shnai moichzin. And you also learned that in Tosis that Beis Amar Masal Lefichach. The one is a psak din of mama mutal b'safik yachlaiku. They're both called uchzakin. If you remember that in Tosis Lefichach, going back in prehistoric history. Okay, and any tfisa afterwards would be tfisa lacha shenela da suffix, if we recall that. Is that correct? Yeah, well, does anybody remember that Beis Amid Aleph? I'm praying. The Lord should help us. Anyway, if you learned again Chesed Sabatim, you should have got that again in the Sugi of Arva. It came back. It mamish came back, but didn't learn it. But whatever it be, so l'chayr is tfis lachashin on the suffix. Tfis lachashin on the suffix, it can't work. There should be a din of Yachleiku, and Tfisa can't work because it's Tfisa Lachashanel the Suffolk, that the whole Taisus of Lefichach, that since there's an inborn din of Mama Mutal Suffolk Yachleiku, there's no Tfisa. Isn't that what he said, the base of Aleph? So the terrorist said, what does the Rashbam tell me? The Rashbam says, I feel toughest mafkinim, and sure, it's Tfisa Lachashanel the Suffolk. But he doesn't say that. He says another reason. Al-Koch of the Rashbam holds, I'm just trying to read a Rashbam for people who already learned from Abasta should be able to put this together, that with a tiny bori, it works. With the Shitas HaRosh and Taisus and Ksubis and a few other places in the Shas, the Tfisa Sh'achar, the suffix works with a tiny bori. Just putting down pshat in the Rashbam. Where's the bori here? The teretz is because he has Eidim. He tainas, he has Eidim, or he heard from Eidim. That's a that we do that, but you don't know, but that's a sifna in hey mishpat, that any person which comes to the taina of Eidim is the equivalent of taina's bori. Remember that. That's the end of ayin hey and choshen mishpat. Okay, that you couldn't have known, but until now you should be. This was your question. Your question is Rashbam writes before that l'chayra tfisa could work because this is a suffix. L'chayra tfisa lachashem the suffix that we're not bothered with. Why is it tfisa lachashem the suffix? Because as soon as because it's a suffix muksik be'etzim, it's mama mutlum suffix yachlaiku. What else you going to do? The teretz is a tainas bori, and why doesn't it work? Because of something else. Delay karina beyakila acherim dakata misapkilon. What do those words mean? It's not even a suffix. That's what he says. This is not yakila acherim, therefore it's not a suffix. What did the Rashbam just teach you? The Rashbam just taught you yakila acherim means you have to be machzik something. And if you're not sure whether you're machzik, you weren't machzik. So at the moment, there's nothing muchzik. And if there's nothing muchzik, nothing happened. There's not even a suffix. Das steht in Rashbam. Read carefully. Since like karina yakila acherim means to say that you've created an objective perception in the world equals a matzav muchzik. That's what you do. Look, Karinu Yakila Acherim. Yakila Acherim means that there's Rambam's already teaching me something. Yakir itself can mean just recognized. Yakila Acherim means creating a matzah which is recognizable for the world. Equals people know. What does it mean? People know. We go back to the Lashon Gemara because you're machzik it. You are machzik it. Well, you can't. You're not machzik a suffix. That's the antithesis of the word machzik. Machzik means I have a certain perception of reality. As long as we're not sure what you said. You said does not create a perception of reality. Therefore, it's not even a suffix. That's before the Rashbam. So it's before Rashbam. The Yakir is not an edus. It's not anything like it. Because in edus, the halacha would be a suffix, and edus is a suffix. Trey, boys, ever hear of that? You learned that too. You learned enough to really know all of this. Okay, you can go back. A suffix and edus is right edus. If it's felt the cheskes kashus and edus, that's something else. We're not talking about cheskes kashus, the chefs of the eight. We're not sure what the eight meant. What happened by eight kiyum? We're supposed to have eidim, but now we're not sure whether it was kor of law or kor of law. It's called a suffix. We don't say it's nothing. Now we go and we count. Now we check. But here we say, no, there's nothing here. As soon as he didn't say something which it can be machzik, it's nothing. So it's not even a suffix. And that's why tfisa doesn't work. That's what the Rashbam writes. Look at the Marach or Zarua found in the Rosh. So the Marach or Zarua. Yeah, let me find 1 minute. Yeah, here it is. It's on the right column of page Samches and Ois V'Hada, the right column, the bottom. Do you see it? Where there's an Ois Hey. Do you see it? So there, I feel toughest mafkinim inay. Here, let's read the Rosh carefully first. The last 3 lines of the Rosh. Amar Rabbi Yisrael, Imre ish pledi b'ni b'chari hu notel b'shtayim. B'choru ein notel b'shtayim. Dima bucher de ima kama. This is our Gemara. So what does the Egois Shri say? I feel toughest mafkinim inay. What did Rashbam say? Because they like Karina by Yakil Acherim. What did Marachah Zerua say? He said the Tfisa Misfeika Le Mahani Elim Tofas Ba'oy Choya Davar Vadai Kodim Chanel Da Suffolk. Oy Shitoyim Borali Shu Chayevle. And he tainas A, this is Tfisa La'achar Chanel Da Suffolk. B, since he's not a tainas Bori. And obviously Rashbam argues. Because Rashbam doesn't say this should have been obvious. Rashbam believes that there is tfisa la'achar she'eino l'safek with a tainas bori, which the Marachos rule points out. The machlekes is that saying based on the edus of other people, is that called the tainas bori or not? There's a machlekes or rishonim whether this is called a tainas bori for tfisa or not called tainas bori for tfisa. That's clear machlekes. I mean, there's nothing to argue about things which are mavur. What comes out there, I have no indication. It seems to be clear that the Marachos rule thinks that although it's Yaakov with a suffix, it's actually a suffix. If we're not sure what the father said, it is a suffix. And my tfisa doesn't work. Because tfisa l'achar she'eino, the suffix doesn't work. In the Rashbam, it says no. The reason tfisa would work. Why doesn't tfisa work? Because it's not a suffix. So what's clear on machlokes in Rashbam and Marachos Zerua? What's the getter of Yakil Acherim? Rashbam holds the Yakil Acherim means you have to be mazik to the people. Mazik you can't be mazik a suffix. That's the antithesis of the word mazik. Masha'enkin Zerua said, no, that's not the getter. What it is, we'll have to discuss what the limitations are. But here we have something happen. It's very clear, it would very much depend. This is how he understands even this Gemara with, it keeps to be saying, it's a getter of a ne'emonis, and a getter of ne'emonis, not a getter of hachzaka, it's a getter of ne'emonis, which because of that ne'emonis, we will be machzik. But that's not what he's there for. Here's the nafkamina. So according to Rashbam, if you can't be machzik, you're nothing. It's not, again, ein echad by yisur. That's an edus. It's also machzik. Okay? What's it in by Yakir? Is it like that? It's an edus. And it's also mazik. Okay, whatever the nafkaminas will be, we'll talk later. So if it's an edus, okay, suffocate, it's like an edus. Mashenker Rashbam says no. It's good only for being mazik. And if you can't be mazik, it's garnished. As soon as there's no, it's not called yakir la'acherim. Muchach Rashbam. There's a qualitative difference between the words yakir and yakir la'acherim. If it just says yakir, that doesn't have to mean to say that it creates a muzik. It could be a subjective ne'emanis for your Yerusha. If it says yakir la'acherim, it means you have to create a matzav muzik. And once that's true, therefore we can understand that yakir la'acherim means they created a matzav muzik. If the getter of yakir is not just an ne'emanis, subjective ne'emanis, it's a matzav muzik. That's the gilur milsa what yakir la'acherim means. That's the case without having lots of musik, you don't have anything there. That Lechor is going to be a psicha to understand the different gersos in the Bavli and the Sifri, which you guys have been schmoozing about. This is where it starts, okay? It comes from this Rashbam. I think we're going to stop now and continue tomorrow.
How can you explain that?
The first argument two different points.
They're arguing on one, so
You don't understand. First of all, the Rashbam believes that as far as tfisa is concerned, as far as if there would be a suffix, tfisa would work. Marachah Zerua says no, it won't work. What's the machlekes? If there would be a suffix, according to Rashbam, it would work. Why? It's tfisa l'achshon the suffix. So you have to say what's with the tainas bori. He writes before that it's not a tainas bori.
okay.
So it's a machlekes whether it's a tainas bori or not.
Once we know that that's true.
That's a truth. No, but the Rashbam then says another reason why tfisa doesn't work.
But the fact that Marachos doesn't say that.
No, because it's a double pasha, because Luyitzer wouldn't be a suffix, he would definitely say that. You're not copying. What's better to say? That it's a suffix, but tfisa doesn't work, or it's not a suffix? If the Rashbam is right, Marachos Zerua would say that too. Pasha. Okay? So it's a double pasha. There's two issues here. There's two issues. The Marachos Zerua disagrees with Rashbam in the original. What would be the din if it would be a suffix? Another machlek is Marachos Zerua thinks it is a suffix, and Rashbam thinks it's not a suffix. What's the machlek is? What does yakir la'acherim mean? Does yakir la'acherim to create a matzav muzik? Or does it mean X? This is going to depend on many factors. Well, we have to go back to understand the usage of the word Yaka La'acherim. You will obviously look up the Girsa of the Gemara here versus the Girsa of the Sifri and the different sheets of Rishonim, how they understand the Machlekes of Yehuda and Rabbanan. We'll discuss this hopefully tomorrow. Okay.